Welcome to the latest episode of the Rugby League Outsiders, and today we're doing a championship preview. We're going to look ahead to the 2025 season, and now the eagle-eyed viewers amongst you will notice that, no, I'm not Craig, my glasses aren't on sideways, and Craig's not here today, but I do have Mark Austin with me. Mark, welcome to the show.
Cheers, Karl. Glad to be here.
Mark is, I'm going to put it out there, Mark's a championship expert.
Not through choice. I'd much rather be a Super League one, but as you may know, I'm a keen follower of Widnes, so we've been down there a few years now, so I think I know a little bit about it.
We're going to dive into the championship teams. We're going to have a look at each team. We're going to have a bit of a guess of where we think they're going to end up in the season. We're going to look at the runners and riders, the big spenders, the contenders, and the pretenders, as you've put it. So, yeah, let's dive into it, shall we? We'll talk about the structure of the championship first of all. So, Mark, how does the championship season work this year?
Right, so this year, there's a bit of a change this year. There's 13 clubs in there. And at the end of the season, there's going to be, well, as planned, there's going to be a top 6 playoff series, as there is every year. Yep. So then you'll end up with 7 teams at the bottom. 4 of those teams at the bottom 4 teams, they will compete against the top 4 teams in the League One. They do a playoff series. And then the teams finishing 3rd and 4th in that Super 8 table will play off for this 12th and last place in the Championship for 2026.
Quickly, what do you think of the Super 8s format? I know it's come back this year in the Championship.
I agree with it because it just keeps clubs going. I mean, last year, everything went down to the last game of the season anyway in the Championship, but it just gives the teams a little bit more to play for. So I agree with it. I'm just hoping Widnes aren't down there.
Right, so we'll get on to the teams then. First team, we'll go through in alphabetical order. You've put together this extensive, I've got to say, he's really gone to town with this really extensive list of the teams. So Barrow Raiders, the first side that we're going to get into, finished 11th in the season last year. What do you think we can expect from Barrow?
I think we can expect, well, with the coach Paul Curry, we can expect him to work bloody hard. I mean, the squad is full of Cumbrians with a few players from Lancashire. But like I said, what I do know is when you go to Barrow, when you go to any Cumbria team, you know you're going to be in for a hard time.
Yeah.
A few years ago, Barrow they were promoted and they did really well in their promotion season. They got into the playoffs. But then since then, they've dropped a little bit because then every year teams need to increase the squad size, increase the quality, but they've not quite done that. But again, they're still retaining the players who like I say, just going to work really hard, that real Cumbrian grit.
So I'm looking at that Barrow team without being too disrespectful. There's no big sort of ex-Super League players, big name signings in there, is there? It's sort of a raft of local talent. Is there anybody that the ones to watch?
Well, over the years, I've really liked how Luke Cresswell plays, the fullback. He's been Barrow for God knows how many years, but he's just like their mainstay. Really good defender and really good in attack.
Right.
Yeah, you've got Josh Wood, dummy half, number 9. He's been around some Super League teams. He played for Wakefield. But he's one of those players where if you're going to run the ball in, you don't want to run it into Josh Wood because he'll just put you on your ass. Yeah, he really would. So he's like the mainstay of the pack. You've also got some other ex-Super League players. You've got Brad Walker, 6. He came through the ranks at Widnes in the academy. Then when Widnes got relegated, he went to Wakefield, and I don't think he was given a decent shot there, if I'm honest. But then he dropped down to play for Barrow, and that's his hometown.
Yeah, okay.
So players go to the hometown, and then that's where they come into their own. And so I'd be looking at him to step things up, because he's not the youngster anymore. He's one of the more senior players.
So what do you think? Possibly stronger at home, may struggle away. I mean, the squad's fairly small, only 24 players at the minute in that squad.
Yeah. And I don't think, I mean, you might have people commenting on this, I don't think it's changed that much. Because like I said, to stay in this championship, like you have to do in Super League, you have to improve year on year on year.
Yeah.
But I think with the finances, I mean, they did really well in the IMG. We're not going to get onto that too much. They did well with the IMG score, but they still have to be really careful with the finances. So that they can't invest as much in the teams as other clubs, because they're always paying money to the stadium.
Fair enough. Right, Barrow Raiders then. Where are you putting them? Which category? Top, middle, bottom?
Bottom. That's no disrespect to them, but I just don't think they've been able to invest enough money when you consider all the other clubs that are investing. So I'm putting them down as the pretenders at the moment.
Okay, Barrow fans, we're just diving into it. We're scratching the surface. If you know more about this squad than what we know, please drop a comment in there. Tell us what we need to know, and we'll see where they finish up at the end of the season. So next team then is Batley Bulldogs. Batley, first of all, that pitch.
It's either a game breaker or a game maker.
Yeah,
depending on which half you're playing. I mean, the Batley players will say it doesn't make no odds to us which way we're playing, but the opposition, that's always a thing that they think about. You want to be playing downhill in the second half, not uphill.
When was the last time you went to Batley?
Not last season, the season before.
Now, I haven't been to Batley for quite a few years, but I do know one thing about Batley. The Batley food board is legendary in rugby league, and I'm hoping to get there again this year, because by all means the food at Batley is second to none.
Well, I think I just had a burger and chips, to be honest. But after a long drive up from Wolverhampton, any food would have been lovely. But yeah, I don't think you had many complaints from there anyway.
Right, so they finished 10th in the season last year. They've got some quality players in this side. Joe Rundle, Elliot Keir, Ben White. They have got some star players in there. It's a little bit of an aging squad.
Yeah, it is, but it's a squad. I mean, with the championship, if you can keep your core players together, then you'll do well season on season. What you get with Batley Bulldogs is you don't get a team of all-stars, but you get a squad of players that really buy into the club and what they're all about, and that's what you get. I mean, you got Ben White, who's a mainstay of the squad. Not last season, the season before, I think he played every single game. The season before last, he had a really good partnership with Tom Gilmore, who's now at Widnes. Last season, it was with Josh Woods, and they just worked really well together.
Yeah.
And with the pack that they've got, I mean, there's not many changes in the pack from, if I say about the last 5 seasons. They had Luke Cooper, who came in last year from Featherstone, and he's one of these small props, but again, he just gets stuck in.
Batley are one of those sides who will always pick up. They're never going to be high flying at the top of the table. They're sort of, I think, Batley, if they're sort of mid-table pushing playoffs, I think they tend to be pretty happy with that. But they're one of those sides that always pick up some big scalps in the season, do you not think?
Yeah, they do, because I don't think there's any pressure on the squad, really.
Yeah.
One of the things that the chairman, I think it's Kevin McNicholas, has always said, he said, I have never sacked any of my coaches. They've moved on, but I've never sacked them, because he just knows this is where we are, we're Batley. I think he'd love to be in Super League, but actually he's quite happy with where they are. They know their level, so there's not a lot of pressure. So the players go out there, get stuck in, knowing that they're going to be playing next week, the week after. As long as they do the best, then that's all the fans want.
Bit of a weird one here. We have a championship season now where if you actually win the league, chances are, if Batley win the championship this year, they ain't getting promoted to the Super League. I think that's a bit of a positive. I know that seems like a strange thing to say, because like you said, Batley, I've never had that intention, have they, to move up to Super League?
No, they've never, ever been in a position, as far as I know, of this booming bus culture. It's a case of, we're a going concern, we will just, every season, that isn't saying that Batley have got no ambition.
No.
They know where the place is, so every year, they'll never have, from what I know, these major economic problems that other clubs have. And so they'll just keep going, And then during the season, like you said, that they will surprise a few teams. And I can definitely see that happening again next year.
Right. Bulldogs then, who's your player to watch in 2025?
They haven't, as far as I reckon, they've not got a player that's going to stand out. Like I say, they've all got this workman-like ethic. But they've got a player called Michael Ward, who's been in around the Irish Wolfhounds. He was part of their World Cup squad last time. But again, he's one of those players. He's got a ponytail. He looks like a biker. But he's one of these players that you just got to respect him. So I think he'll go well. But then you got Sammy Kibula, who's been round and about. He's had a go at Super League. Lucas Walshaw, second rower, big tall second rower. I'm surprised that other clubs haven't come sniffing. But maybe it's because he's just happy being at Batley because he just buys into the club.
Yeah.
But he can do some damage.
Okay then, rating time. Where do you think we're going to Batley? Top, middle, or bottom?
Again, it's another one. They're always there or thereabouts, but I think they'll be round about the middle, maybe.
Middle table.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
Not quite playoffs, but they'll shock some teams.
Right. Here we go. Bradford Bulls. My team.
Over to you, Karl.
My team, look, it's the first time I've been properly excited to watch a Bradford Bulls side. It's littered with stars. Brian Noble's back at the helm. It's an exciting time to be a Bulls fan.
Every season, Bradford Bulls fans think this is our year. A bit like Warrington, this is our year.
No, they don't. Right, that's the preconception what a lot of fans from other teams seem to have of Bradford Bulls. I'll tell you this now, right? Bulls fans don't think that we should be at the top of the league every year because we used to be in Super League in 20 years ago, however long it was, right? That's the stick we've been hit with these days. I think a lot of Bradford fans have just been happy to be generally building over the last sort of 5-10 years. And I think that's a fair assessment of Bradford fans. And I don't think we've expected to jump back up into the Super League. I think the press make a lot of headlines like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the actual Bradford fan thinks like that. And we've been gradually building. However, this year is different. And I do think this year we've got a lot of the stuff sorted off the field. The finances are stable. We're actually one of very few clubs that made a profit last year. But I think this year Bulls fans would say, yeah, we want to try and win the league this year.
I think as a club, you're right. Bradford have just been building year on year, and now they've finally got the lease for Odsal. A lot of people are saying, is that really a good thing? But it gives you a more secure future. What I worry about Bradford, I mean, I don't know where the money comes for Bradford. They've not got massive, I mean, they've got the biggest crowds, I would reckon, in the Championship, but they've not got massive crowds. But looking at the squad, it just reeks Brian Noble. I remember back in Super League, Brian Noble squads, they were always massive.
Yeah.
All the Kiwis, Vanganar and Vicona, and looking at the squad that they've got this year, you've got some massive players that can really bully teams, I reckon.
So not just that, there's some quality halfbacks. We spoke about James Meadows, London lad, before we went off air. You're a big fan of his, aren't you?
I am. I think if you look at what he does, he can pull something out of the bag with it. He's got a really good short kicking game, really good, and he can beat a player as well. So if they can get him working really well with Joe Keys behind that massive pack they've got, then the backs will look after the game after that. And pains me to say, I mean, I'm going to predict my own Widnes team. They'll be middle of the table. But looking at it, I mean, can you predict Bradford anything other than top this year?
I don't know if they'll definitely finish top, but anything less than third would be a disaster. If you look at Super League stars littered in this side, Waka Blake, Michael Lawrenson. Do you know what? James Donaldson's back at his hometown club. The player I'm really excited to watch this year, Guy Armitage, played for Toulouse. The guy's an out-and-out try scorer.
Yeah. He's a really decent runner and he can tackle as well. Oh, God, I've seen him a few times last year and he can tackle. So Bradford have got a really good one with him, even though I don't think he'll be a standout player. But but that just shows the quality of the Bradford side for next year.
And then the last player that I'm going to give a bit of a mention to, Eben Skur. He's come through the Bradford Academy. I'm telling you now, Super League sides are going to be knocking the Bradford door down for this guy. If Bradford don't get promoted in the next 1 or 2 years, he'll be out there playing for Warrington or St Helens or somebody. The guy's quality, really one to watch.
He's one of those players that I've not seen that much, but I've seen in the press after the games that he comes really highly rated. One player that I'm really not looking forward to seeing, because that means he's probably going to batter Widnes down. Franklin Pele.
Yeah,
I saw him play a few games at the start of this last season for Hull, and he didn't have a good start. He just kept getting sent off. But he came with great raps from Australia.
Yeah.
Things didn't fit with Hull, but no one fit with Hull last year. So then when he got a shot at Bradford, I saw him a few times, and I thought, this guy's massive, massive. And I'm wondering whether halfway through this season, some Super League clubs will come sniffing, because he's going to batter some teams down. Will they come sniffing, and will Bradford be able to keep him? Because they were the ones that saved his career. I reckon they did save his career, but yeah, he's definitely one to watch.
Yeah, came over last year. What a signing it was from Nobby. Yeah, he was bang average at Hull FC, came to Bradford and just rolled teams down the pitch. If you watched him against Castleford the other week, he was absolutely quality.
Yeah.
He's Super League standard, playing Championship rugby.
Him and Emmanuel Wayne and George Taufua, they are just typical Nobby players.
Right, it's that moment in time then. Where do you think Bradford are going to finish this year?
If not top, they'll definitely be second or third. I mean, that the top four is really strong. They're not going to get it all their own way. Wakefield, I mean, they were top last year, but there was a lot of games last year they didn't get it all their own way. But they just had that quality to see them through. Now you'd think that with Bradford.
I think they've got strength in depth. I think they've got a massive pack and they've got some great backs. I would be expecting first or second this year. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but yeah, that's what I'm expecting from the Bulls this year. I think the pressure's on them. I think they've got to deliver, and they've got to make sure they get them IMG points off the field as well.
Just going to the IMG points will come for the championships clubs with the 1895 Cup. But only one club can win that, and then they'll get, I don't know how many points it is, but it does count on IMG. And then is getting to the final of the championship. And if Bradford Bulls don't do any of that, will their squad reduce dramatically because it's not all about how you perform on the field anymore, is it?
No, it's not. And you make a really good point there. I think there's probably 4 or 5 teams in the championship who can probably pick up enough IMG points off the field. But securing these wins, either a championship win or like you say, 1895 Cup win or anything like that, I think it's so important to the IMG grading, and actually it makes sure that you're competitive on the field and you get your ducks in a row off the field. Whether Oddsel's up to its standards for that, I'm not too sure.
Just looking at Oddsel, I mean, I keep an eye on a lot of championship clubs and their social media. And Bradford have made a big thing about our gantry. We've got a gantry this year, and it's like, and they've got a big screen. But then when you look around at the rest of Odsel, it's like, yeah, you need to sort the rest out. But the ticking boxes of the IMG, that's what a shame. But let's not get onto that.
Yeah, but as Castleford have proved, it don't matter what the ground looks like, as long as you've got a big screen TV and you've got some
improved changing rooms.
Porta cabins, of course. Right, so we think Bradford are going to finish first, second, or they're definitely going to be up there. Right, we'll move on to Doncaster then. Richard Horn's Doncaster finished 8th last season. It was the first season in the Championship, wasn't it, last year?
It was.
But they did have a good year.
It took them a while to get going, but they did. I mean, they're a bit like Bradford, and they've got a lot of size in their squad. I mean, I talked about Barrow a few moments ago about when they got promoted. They surprised a lot of people, and I think Doncaster did last year. But the thing about Doncaster is the quality of play is better than what Barrow had. So I think they've got the ability to step it up a bit this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got the ex-Super League players. You've got Craig Orr, you've got Britta Ferramo, you've got Reece Lynn, you've got Luke Briscoe, which is Tom Briscoe's brother. Luke Briscoe played a few seasons at Leeds as well. They've got that ex-Super League standard player. But it's not just about the back line, it's the forward line. They've got some good forwards. They've got Matangi there as well. Alex Sutcliffe, he's ex-Leeds Rhinos as well. So they have got the quality, but some of it, the squad is quite on the wrong side of 30.
Aging a little bit, I think, is how you would put that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Connor Robinson. I've watched him play. I watched Doncaster play a few times last year, actually. And he's a proper old school halfback. He just organises really well. He doesn't take too many knocks if he don't have to.
No.
Really smart kicking game. His kicking game is actually very valuable to Doncaster.
He's one of the players that I've highlighted as a player that could really help Doncaster this year. If he can stay on the field, like not be injured, he can steer the pack around. He's got that really good short kicking game. And he's a scrum half that really crafts. He's not like a halfback that's going to outstrip defences with his own pace, but he can pull something out of nothing with the back line that he's got as well. So I'm not saying Doncaster will be up there with the big four, but they'll definitely be sniffing around. I think they will catch some other teams out.
Yeah, I think they'll catch some teams out. I think they'll definitely pick up a few surprise wins along the way. I don't think, I agree with you. I don't think they'll be quite pushing for that playoffs, but I expect them to be mid-table. Yeah, and
they've picked up some other good players as well. I mean, Adini Gebi, who played last season for Whitehaven, he spent a bit of time on the touchline in the stands because, not through injury, but because of his indiscipline. If they can sort that out, they've got themselves a really good outside back. Gebi, he can play fullback, he can play wing. Yeah, he's one of those that you're frightened if the opposition, he's got the ball in his hand, because he can just pull something out of nothing. He's a bit like a sevens player.
I've just noticed Andre Savelio's still in the Donny squad.
Yeah, I think he was at Huddersfield last year and then he retired. But you know, when players retire through injury, you expect them to be gone.
Yeah.
But is it where he thought, well, my body can't stand up to the rigours of Super League, training day in, day out? But no, they've signed him out of retirement.
Right, Doncaster then, where do you think they're going to finish in the table?
Definitely mid-table. I don't think they'll crack into the top four. They won't be relegated or get into that bottom...
Middle bottom eight, whatever the hell they're calling it these days.
But I reckon they'll definitely be mid-table.
Rightio. Featherstone then. Fortress Post Office Road. James Ford's men didn't quite have the season they were expecting last year. I mean, they had the fallout the sort of season before, didn't they? With Sean Long leaving and a whole host of players left. Bit of a messy season for Fed last year. However, they did sort of get the shit together towards the end of the year. What do you think we're going to get from them this year? Because there's some quality in there, and it's a big squad. So
Featherstone they've recruited. I think last season was a bit of a transition year, because the season before that, I think they went for bust, broke or bust. And last season, the transition was they were going not a hybrid team, but more part-time. Then when Paddy Hanley took control of the club as chairman, he's reinvested with the other people he's got on board, and they've got a decent squad. A real decent squad. Right,
Mike, who do you think Featherstone's ones to watch are then? Like you've said, there's plenty of players come in. It's certainly a big change from the side they had last year.
Yeah.
Who do you think are the ones to watch this year?
Right, so one player that I think is real shrewd signing they've got from York Knights, and it's Will Jubb at 9. He's another one of those, like I say, like old-fashioned type 9s that can just pop out a dummy half, make a break, and with the support of the players, they'll just be up the pitch. But he's a really good organiser, a really, really underrated player. So they've got him from York, and the other player that I think is going to be a standout is Carlos Tuimavave. Or is he too much of a whole player? Because when you sign these Super League, ex-Super League players who've been at the Super League club for a long time, are they too much ingrained in that club that they've been in? Are they now going to be able to make him into a Featherstone player, or is it too late in his career?
It's that transition as well, and it getting used to, you go from the bright lights of Hull.
Yeah.
Playing, fancy, nice stadium. Suddenly you're at Post Office Road and the pitch is on a bit of a hill. It can be a bit of a shock to the system for some Super League players. Doesn't always work out, does it?
No, it doesn't. What you find with the Championship is that the Super League players that drop into the Championship, they're doing it not for the money anymore, because you don't get a lot of money in the Championship.
Yeah.
Unless you're part of the big 3-4 clubs. They're doing it for the love of the game. So Carlos Tuimavave dropping down to Featherstone, is he doing it because he just wants to be big fish in a little pond, or is he doing it because he just wants to enjoy it? And if he's doing it because he wants to enjoy it, then he's in the right place.
Fev then, do we think they're going to be right up there challenging for the title? It's a bloody hard place to go for any team, isn't it?
It's like Batley. They've got a slope, haven't they? But for like Featherstone, it won't matter too much. But I think this thing about the slope, is it just a myth?
I'll tell you now, it's not a myth. I've played on that pitch, and it's fucking hard to play on that pitch, mate, if you're not used to it.
Well, in the Roundabout now, the pitch is always a mess as well because the rain, and you'll know more about being in Yorkshire. But they have a lot of other clubs playing it, like from the amateur, they get a lot of cup finals, so the pitch isn't always in great condition. So roundabout this time of year, I think Featherstone will be strong. In the summer, might see something different. But no, actually, I reckon they'll be fighting with Bradford at the top.
Top three then. Top three. We're going. I'm a big fan of James Ford. I think he's very.
Are you?
Yeah, he's a good coach. I like him.
I don't think there's many Featherstone fans that are, to be honest. And you might come on and say I'm wrong, but just looking on social media last year, a lot of fans were saying, "Is this the week when he's going to go? He's going to go," because they did have a decent squad last year. For whatever reason, they had injuries like all clubs, but it just didn't quite work.
No, the fit for Featherstone, I think a few people have said that. I don't think the fit is quite right, but he's a good coach. He's a very tactical coach.
He did well at York.
Yeah, he did very well at York. Like, very, very well at York. He built that squad from pretty much next to nothing. It did come in a time when I think everything was going right at York, when it new stadium was being built, but yeah, it was great at York, and that's why I say, I don't know too much about this Featherstone side, I'll be honest with you, but I expect them to be right up at the top of the table.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, Halifax Panthers then. Kyle Eastman, first season as a head coach, really small squad. They've had loads of financial troubles off the field, but do we expect them to be competitive?
If they can increase the size of their squad, their actual squad, and not rely on these dual reg players and loan players.
Yeah, so Kyle Eastman's sort of used his old contacts, haven't he? He's got a dual reg with St Helens, so it depends who Saints offload. Well, I suppose you've got to put part of this down to how well is St Helens' first team going to go, and which players are they going to have left to go out on loan.
That's it. Last year with Saints, they had a horrendous injury list.
Terrible.
Right, yeah. And so with Saints, they'll let players go out on dual reg, but then what you tend to find is the Super League clubs will bring the dual reg players back even when they don't need to. Because I know last year, Widnes, we had Keenan Brand from Lee. He was sent back, not sent back. Lee recalled him, but he didn't end up in their squad. So again, I think Halifax, they're going to find it difficult unless they can actually increase the size of their actual squad.
But early indications are that Halifax are they're doing really well. I mean, they beat Keighley in pre-season. They quite convincingly. They give Catalan a real good game in the Challenge Cup the other week. They look pretty solid. But I agree with what you said. There's some. If you look at 1 to 13 of this Halifax team, it's very strong, isn't it?
Because that 1 to 13 is the Halifax team that has been 1 to 13 this season, coming last season and the season before. Like we were saying about Batley, they've bought into the club. But then outside that 13, have they really got the strength?
Yeah, I'm just looking down I think that's what it is with Halifax. I think they keep this squad fit. They could. I think they could be pushing right up into the playoffs.
Oh, definitely.
And they will trouble your Bradfords, your Oldhams. There'll be some real tough games there. But like you say, if they pick up a load of injuries, who knows what could happen to Fax this year?
In the Championship, you get loads of injuries, right? The other clubs, if they get injuries, they've got players to fall back on who may not be the same quality, but they've still been training with them week in, week out. When Halifax get the injuries, who are they going to fall back on? They're going to fall back on the dual reg players who might be good quality, but they don't know enough about the Halifax way of playing.
They're not part of the system, are they?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're not. But having said that, the players that they've got, there's some decent quality. They've got Adam O'Brien there, who's ex-Huddersfield. He's been at Halifax for a few years, and he knows his way around the park. He's a really crafty player.
Adam O'Brien is a really smart player. He's one of those players that if your marker's out set, pick up and he goes, he'll either catch him offside or make a break down the middle. He's very direct, and it's the sort of style of play that you need at the Shea, I think. Very clever player. Really enjoy watching him. Who else do you think is sort of the ones to watch in that Fax team?
I've seen Louis Dufresne play a lot over the last few
years.
He's from France, but he's a proper championship player, been around a few clubs. And whenever I've seen him play against Widnes, he's always played really well, which I'm thinking, why has he been around so many clubs? Is it his defence? I don't know, but from what I've seen, he can make a break. He can create things as well. But what I find interesting this year is that he's been given the number 1 shirt and James Woodburn Hall has been given the 6, and I'm sure previous season it's been the other way around.
Right.
So do they now see Louis Dufresne as more of a running threat, so they're going to slot him in at full-back instead? I don't know, it may just be a numbers thing, but Dufresne's good player. Woodburn Hall, he's a good player as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's quality throughout that 1 to 13. James Saltonstall's a great player. I don't know where you're going to go with this one, actually. Where do you think Halifax are going to finish? I know we've sort of said a lot of this depends on injuries, but if I put you on the spot, what sort of part of the table do you think they're going to finish?
Right now,
yeah,
they'll be fighting relegation. They'll be in the playoffs, at the bottom end playoffs. But again, if they can keep their first 13 fit, which is never going to happen, they'll compete for mid-table. But it also depends on Kyle Eastman as well. He's not. This isn't just his first coaching job, because he's coached at the academy, I think, at Warrington. They've got him from there, so he has done coaching, but his championship level is different. Coaching championship level with part-time players is different from coaching youngsters that are there all the time. So I'd bottom, but maybe encroaching into the middles.
I'm going to go mid-table, potentially playoffs, but I just think he's going to pull some players in from somewhere. I hope that they can keep some of those players fit. Right, should we move on?
Yep.
Hunslet Hawks then promoted from League One. They didn't actually finish top of League One. They came all the way through the playoff system.
Yeah, they were 4th in League One. That was like a fairy tale ending to the season for that. No one saw them getting promoted.
No, I mean,
everyone thought, well, Oldham, they went up as automatic promotion.
Yep.
Everyone then thought it was probably going to be Keighley.
Yeah. They came from nowhere, but they did have some great players in that Hunslet side last year. However, quite a few of those have retired, and they've actually lost a lot of players from who were actually in that League One side last year. But they've built a bloody massive squad, 30 players in this squad. I think there's actually more than we've got listed here.
Yeah.
What can we? This Hunslet's a really hard one to call in. It's a really hard one to talk about, I think. Really,
I mean, I didn't see them really play last year other than the playoffs. I saw them against Keighley. I saw them against Swinton. What they had was that like I said, that fairy tale ending of everyone was just in it. We're here to show you that we're not here just to get beaten. I think they surprised themselves in the end, to be honest. But they just had that togetherness. Looking at the squad this season, I mean, we were talking off air about George Flanagan Jr. That they had on loan from Huddersfield. He was a standout performer for them last year, but he's not there now. So the squad that they've got now, I don't know loads about. I know about Matty B. Harrell and Lachlan Hannigan. So Matty B. Harrell, he's been around. He was at Keighley. He's been at Dewsbury. He's one of those players. I think he retired, but then I think they've just brought him back in. If they can keep him fit, he'll be there to bring the youngsters through. They've got Lachlan Hannigan. He's from Whitehaven. He's an Aussie that was at Whitehaven last year. Again, them two together, if they can build a partnership, bring the youngsters through, they'll be all right, but I just don't think they've got the quality throughout, really.
Liam Wellham's there, who played at the Hurricanes last year. He's been around the block. I tell you what, he's still a proven player.
I mean, I keep a close eye on the Hurricanes' fortunes, and he's been scoring some tries for Hurricanes.
Mate, he scores all the time. I was very surprised that they let him go, actually. He's a very good quality player. He's wiry, and he can break a tackle. And yeah, like I say, he's definitely on the aging side, but he's still can bloody handle himself.
Can he do it at championship level?
Yeah, well, I think so.
You stick him in the Bradford team, he's definitely going to make it at championship level because of all the other players around him. But can he do it with the squad that they've got around him? Will too much be expected of someone like Wellham? Will too much be expected of B. Harrell and Hannigan? I mean, they've got the fullback, Jimmy Watson. He's been at Hunslet a long time. I think he had a break for maybe a year or so. He's come back in, but again, he's one of the aging players, and he's got a lot of youngsters, but you can't just rely on those few senior players.
What I like about Hunslet is kind of the opposite to Halifax, is that I think they've got a lot of players in there who can kind of mix it, but they've built a big squad. And if injuries do take the toll on some of these sides, your Halifaxes, your London Broncos that have got small squads, if Hunslet, because they've got such a sort of strength in depth, they could find themselves mid-table. That is a very good possibility. And the South Leeds Stadium's not a very easy place to go play either away.
We're looking at Halifax, and they've got a good first 13, maybe a few subs that they've got the quality. But with Halifax, we've said that if they need to call on players, they're going to call on players that don't know the Halifax way. When you go the Hunslet, if they've got injuries, then at least you've got players who've been training with them week in, week out to call upon. They might not have the quality, though, to still push them on further than the bottom of the table.
Yeah, so what we're saying then, Hunslet, we expect them to be down that bottom
in the bottom third of the table. I'm not sure whether they'll finish bottom. They could surprise. I mean, like I say, the togetherness that they showed at the back end of the season in League One, that could see them through this year.
Okay, moving on then to London Broncos. Now, London Broncos, I don't know where to start with London Broncos, because at this moment in time, we don't know too much about their squad. I know they played in the Challenge Cup against Vikings. At that moment in time, he only had 12 registered players, and the other players that were playing for the London Broncos were all trialists who've sort of come through the London system, which is great. But yeah, to call where London are going to finish this season at the moment is a really difficult one.
I think it's quite scary that when you look online, you can't find a squad of players. I mean, every championship club has released their squads like at different times. Some like quite recently, but you can't see a squad for London at the moment. I mean, they'll have a team, but it just might be full of trialists. Still, looking at the players that they've got, though, I mean, you've got Alex Walker, who's played Super League. You've got Will Lovell, who's played Super League. They're decent players. Yeah, Will Lovell, he's Mr. London Broncos. He's a player that wants to shine for London. He's a player that wants to bring the youngsters through. So they've got to keep him fit.
Midlander as well.
Is he?
I think he was Northampton.
Oh, right. Yeah, he was. He was, Northampton.
Yeah, he's been on the show before, speaks really well, very passionate about London. Right, we'll speak about Mike Eccles. The guy he speaks so well. He's so passionate about growing the sport in the capital. I mean, I think this is one of the only sides outside the Heartlands in the Championship. It just speaks so well. I like what he's doing. He always tries to bring in players from the surrounding area of London. He doesn't just... I think I spoke to him at the League One launch, Championship League One launch. He basically said, we always aim for that sort of 70-30 split. But he did say, look, at this moment in time, we just need players. I think they were looking at Wigan. I think they've got a bit of a dual reg going with Wigan Warriors. So, yeah, at this moment in time, it's hard to say what we're going to get from London.
It is, but Mike Eccles, I think he's fantastic. I remember when he took over the reins a few years ago, I think it was from Jermaine Coleman. He just took up the mantle just because there was no one else, because I think he was just a strength and conditioning coach. So you think he's just there to just see things through. But he's come on leaps and bounds as a coach in his own right.
Yeah.
I remember a few seasons ago, I think it was at the Summer Bash, there was an interview after the game. I think London had lost narrowly to a team. And the interviewer at the Summer Bash asked him about the London performance, and he nearly won. And she says, are you happy with that? And he says, no. He says, I want to win every week. And they didn't have the team really to challenge, but he wanted to win every week still. And then what he did was he built his team, so they were winning every week. So him having this vision down at London, I've got a lot of trust in him that they might not do much this season, but he will build, and he'll build, because he's part of the setup at London from years ago.
Yeah. He said to me at the launch, he was basically... We know exactly where we are this year. We're not going out there. We're not building a squad to win the league. Or he says literally, it's about survival for London this year. We've got to just get the players in that are going to help us survive, and then we can consolidate and go again the year after. So yeah, I hope London do well. I hope they survive. I'm a strong believer that we need a side in the capital. I don't know, some people will disagree with me there, but 100% we need a strong London Broncos. I'd love to see him get back up to Super League one day. It's going to be a bloody difficult season next year, though.
It's all hinging on this investment that he hinted about a few weeks ago at the Goal game, or I think it might be on when you interviewed, and before Christmas. But this investment has got to come to fruition, because otherwise they're not going to have a squad that's going to challenge to escape relegation.
Hopefully we see the London-Brisbane Broncos or whatever consortium comes into to help them. Anyway, London Broncos, I think it's pretty obvious that we're going to say they're going to be down the bottom 4, but we're hoping for the best.
Hoping for the best, just like they are. If they can get the investment, then they'll start signing players, but then they've not had the pre-season that everyone else has had. So I think even if they could get the players in, they're still going to be fighting relegation. Yeah,
it's going to be very much survival mode for London Broncos. However, the next team that we're going on to, big spending, Oldham Roughyeds, Sean Long's superstars, they've got to be looking for top half of the table, aren't they?
Widnes Vikings 18. That's what it is. No, they have. I mean, I've just said Widnes Vikings 18. They signed a few from Widnes last season, for the last season, and they've done really well. And looking at their squad now, I mean, 31 players, and they've got quality all the way through. They've got ex-Super League players, but they're from the lower half of Super League, so they're used to fighting it out. And I think that's what they'll have this year. Yeah,
I think whenever I've spoke to Mike Ford or listened to something that he has to say, I think they're very much of the case that they want to build gradually. But I think the most important thing for Oldham next year is the bums come back on the seats and the community of Oldham starts getting invested in this rugby league side again. I think they had a great year last year. I think everybody expected them to get promoted last year, as they did. They've built a side this year. I don't think it's quite going to challenge the top 3 of the league.
Not the top 3, but I reckon they'll be there.
They should definitely be in the playoffs. Definitely be in the playoffs.
Oh, definitely in the playoffs. I mean, I've got them down as at least playoffs because the squad they've got is a big squad, like Hunslet, but the difference is with Oldham, their squad is from 1 through to 31. They can slot in and do as good a job as the other players that might be missing out.
Yeah, just looking at their pack, I mean, Gil Dudson, Matty Wildy, Owen Farnworth, Matty Ashton, they're all sort of ex-Super League players. The only thing I would say a little bit about this Oldham squad, it's a little bit ageing.
Yeah, there's some, but I'm going to say IMG again. They're aging. They'll do well for a season. They might leave next season, and then they'll bring more in. I don't think with the IMG, it's all about being at the very top. But you're not going to get, you said about bringing the crowds back, you're not going to bring the crowds back unless you've got a team that's performing. But I think a lot of the fans are now buying into the vision of Mike Ford.
Mate, 100%. I think they were getting, what, sort of 2,000 fans to some of the pre-season games. I know they played Wigan. But if they're picking like 2,500 fans up, they've got to be happy with that, right?
I mean, before Mike Ford came on board, they really were in the doldrums.
The club had gone, really. Yeah. The Oldham didn't really exist anymore. It was a club that was on its last legs. Yeah, Mike Ford's come in with investors. Sean Long's doing a great job. The social media, by the way, is absolutely top draw. I want to see him do well, Oldham. I really do want to see him do well.
They've really invigorated the town of Oldham. I mean, Oldham, when I was growing up, Oldham was a rugby town. And then over the last 2 decades, they've just been a team that's played out of Whitebank Stadium in Limehurst. But since Mike Ford's come on, they've invigorated the whole place, and everyone in Oldham is now talking about Oldham because they're now playing at Boundary Park again. Yeah. They're not that team playing out of a really crappy ground. So they built a really strong team last year to get them out of League One, and they've added to that team this year. But the players that they had in League One last year were good enough to play in Championship.
Yeah, right, go on now. I'm going to put you on the spot then. Have a little look on your list. Who do you think are the ones to watch, the ones we can get excited about watching in the Championship next year in that Oldham squad?
Right, so I reckon there's at least 2 players that are really, if they're on fire, they'll be on fire. One is Danny Craven. I know a lot about him because he played for Widnes. If he's not injured, because he can be injury prone, if he's not injured, he can pull something out of the bag. That's something my team Widnes missed last year when he didn't play for us. It's Danny Craven. But can they fit Danny Craven, Josh Drinkwater and Riley Dean in the same team? They experimented at the weekend, I think, by putting Craven at full back. And I think that's worked all right from what I can see. So there's him. And then there's another lad, Phoenix Lalau Tonga guy. And his dad.
I'm glad you said that. I wouldn't have got that right.
Because his dad played for Sheffield forever. I'm not sure. I think he might still be on OKR's, but maybe someone can correct me. But he was on OKR books. Looks like he's more with Oldham now. But again, he's one that if he finds a space, he'll exploit it and he'll just score tries for fun.
Right then. Sean Long's high spending Oldham Roughyeds, where do you think they're going to finish in the table?
I think they'll be challenging. Pains me to say it because there's like ex-Widnes players in there, but I think they'll be challenging for the top four because, again, you got the big spenders. You got Bradford, Featherstone, you got York, you've got Oldham. And on paper, they look really strong.
Yeah, I think minimum expectation for Oldham is playoffs. I think they should be looking to finish top 6. They could potentially challenge that top 3, but I don't think they're going to be quite there. Not on this first season.
I think as a club, if they get to the playoffs, I think they'll be happy as a club. And I think that's where they'll be targeting. Anything more will be a massive bonus and it'll just bring the crowds back, and that can have a massive effect as well.
I'll just take a moment out to, if you're enjoying this content or any of the other content that we've put on the YouTube channel in the last sort of week or so, please hit that subscribe button. I know 90% of people who are watching this channel don't actually subscribe, which is madness, blows my mind. But yeah, if you enjoy the content, hit the subscribe button, please, and we'll get back to the show. Right, Sheffield Eagles. It feels weird saying this. Craig Lingard's Sheffield Eagles.
Yeah.
It feels like Mark Aston's been at Sheffield Eagles forever.
Yeah, and he's still there now. He's been reinstated, but he can't coach. So it's like, well, if he can't coach, what is he going to do? Is he going to have like an assistant coach, but he'll be there in the background? But they brought Craig Lingard in, and I think that is just there was rumours that he was going to go to Bradford before they got Nobby back in charge. But I think that could be the signing of the season for him, to be honest.
I completely agree with you. I am a massive Craig Lingard fan. I think he speaks really well. What he did at Batley on a shoestring budget, I thought was incredible. He did so well with that side that he built from pretty much scratch. He found players from all over the bloody country, from academy sides. The guy's clever. I think he's rugby through and through. I thought it was terrible what actually happened at Castleford last year. I mean, he just wasn't given a chance.
I really rate him. I mean, I've said on a few podcasts before that I looked out for Castleford results last year because an ex-championship coach in Super League, you want him to do well. I thought it was a real shame that Castleford let him go. I still don't know why. There was a lot of fans saying it was a shame to see him go. But it's a results business, isn't it? But you've got to give him the plays. But anyway, I think it's a great signing for Sheffield. Can whatever he brings to the club rub off on the players that are there now? When you look at it, the squad is, again, a lot of it is the same as last year, the same as the year before. Are they too much of a Mark Aston squad? Well, we'll see. But I think if the players can buy into him, they're going to be really strong again.
Yeah, and I mean, a Mark Aston squad isn't a bad squad. I mean, bloody Sheffield were good last year.
Yeah.
And they just kept turning teams over week after week, and people didn't really expect it.
Yeah.
I think you said to me off air, the wheels actually fell off Sheffield after that like scandal sort of hit, didn't it?
As soon as he was put on not gardening leave, but he was suspended, wasn't he? But the RFL enforced it.
Gardening leave suspended.
Yeah. So after that, the wheels really did fall off. Now, was that did it just affect the players because the players didn't know what was happening, or is it the fact that Mark Aston just wasn't around the place anymore? But it had a massive effect on them. But now they've got Craig Lingard, like with Batley, he knows exactly what he's doing with championship players. He knows it inside out. He knows what championship players can do.
Yeah, I think the Sheffield Eagles side is a team to watch next year. There's some great players in this. One favourite of mine, Matty Dawson-Jones on the wing. The guy is so quick. He's electric. I think he played Super League.
Yeah, he played at St Helens. He played at, I think then he went over to Hull. Yeah. I think he then played at Lee. So he's been around like the decent clubs. Out
and out try scorer. Love to watch him play. Corey Aston, Tubbs' son. Yeah. Another great player. Another Connor Robinson.
I was just thinking that he's another player that can craft. Yeah. He can run with the ball as well. He's a great kicker, just like his dad was as well. But faster than his dad.
Reece Butterworth in there. He's another quality player. Look, Chris Wellham, another one that's been there.
Ben Jones-Bishop.
Forever. Ben Jones-Bishop, yeah.
He looks like he's not running fast, but he's running fast. They have got quality all over. Again, it's just, are they going to buy into Craig Lingard's way of thinking? Is it going to take a season or two to get used to it?
Yeah, I think if I make a prediction for Sheffield, I think they're going to probably start a little bit slow, because I know he hasn't had much time with the squad.
No.
On Craig Lingard, I think he said that at the launch, it was literally, I haven't had much time with his squad. I think it'll take a while for him to build. I think as we start getting in the middle of the season, I think Sheffield will get stronger and stronger.
Yep.
I think playoff contenders.
I think playoff. I don't think. I mean, last year they broke into the top three with Wakefield and Toulouse on merit. I just don't think this year, because all the other clubs have stepped things up. I just don't think they will be up there like they were last year. But I definitely think they'll be competing for playoffs, top six.
Right, we'll move on to Toulouse then. Toulouse, another side that have been top end of the Championship for years, had a stint in Super League. They're going to be bloody good again this year. It's a team, though, that you don't find much information coming out of France. So I always look at the Toulouse side and don't quite know what to expect. But I expect them to be good.
You expect them to be massive, and they're always massive every year. You don't know what to expect, because like last season, you're expecting to be challenging Wakefield and all the other clubs and being the best of the rest. But then when they get beat by Swinton, you think, what the hell's happened there? Yeah. And it's like, oh, Bradford have beat them, so Widnes can beat them. No, then we get beat. You just don't know what you're going to get with them, other than they're going to be competitive still. One thing that they haven't got going for them this year, from what I've been reading, is that they haven't really had a pre-season like all the other clubs, because all the other clubs have been able to arrange training matches against other local championship clubs, behind doors games.
Yeah.
They've been involved in the Challenge Cup, but Toulouse haven't been involved in the Challenge Cup, and I think they played the other week against Catalans. I'm not sure if they've had any engagement with the other clubs, but I don't. If there's a time to play them, it's at the start of the season, and that's when Widnes are playing them.
Well, that's a good start then, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I mean, Toulouse were always, they pretty much had a sort of 95% win ratio at home.
Yeah.
That slipped, didn't it, last year? It didn't. It wasn't the fortress. Like I think you just mentioned, there were a few teams went to Toulouse last year and turned them over, and people didn't really expect it. I think that fortress has gone a little. They haven't got the money either, have they? That they had last year.
Every season they seem to have in the media that they're struggling a bit financially, because they should be in Super League, and if we're in Super League, we'd be on better foundations, and you need to be looking after us because we're a French club. You need to be looking at. So I don't know what's going on from year on year on.
I think they lost some money from I think they got money from the local government for something. I'm not quite sure what it was, but I know that's gone this year. However, they are reporting that they're still sort of spending almost up to the max. So
it's a shame, because I know that the money that there was available in the south of France, I think it's hit Catalans as well, hasn't it? I think they've come out and said they're not going to be able to fund for much longer the clubs coming over to Perpignan like they used to.
Well, there's another story there. I won't get on my soapbox about that one, but what an absolute ludicrous decision that is from the Super League clubs.
Yeah.
Self-interest.
It is, but I suppose it goes back to, well, if the French clubs want to be involved, you can't expect everything to go for you. You've got a bit like with the Canadian side, Toronto. They had to spend a lot of money to enter the competition.
I get that, but it's a global sport. Sport has to be global these days to work. So I think anyway, we're going off boil a bit here. So Toulouse, any players that you think we should be looking out for this year?
Not a player that is going to score loads of tries, but a player that's, again, really, really strong is Rob Butler, who he signed for London the year before last. I think he was at Toulouse or another French club. He re-signed at London in their promotion season.
Yeah.
He played for them last year, gone to Toulouse this year. I think he's just a massive player. He can put some real big hits in and dents into the opposition defence.
Right, Toulouse then. Both got them top three, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, they'll be there or thereabouts.
Right,
if their squad stays the same, and if they've still got the money being pumped in. I don't know.
We'll see then. Okay. Yeah. Have you heard of this last team, Widnes?
I think I have. I think I've been to see them a few times in my life.
Joking about, Mark, you've been a lifelong Widnes season ticket holder?
Since I was 10 years old, and I'm 46 now, so 36 years of absolute Misery. No, so I got a season ticket. The season that we last won the championship in 1989. I wasn't there for the championship winning game against Wigan. Got a season ticket after that, and ever since then, we've not won anything.
Right, 2025 then, what can we expect from Widnes Vikings? They had a good season last year, didn't they? A little bit of a shock season, I think.
It was and it wasn't. So the start of the season, I mean, I said the start of the season, no matter how the season goes, we've got to keep hold of the coach, Alan Coleman. Because every season we've got rid of the coach. Because the expectation, I was saying earlier on about Bradford, what are they going to do if they don't hit that top three? Because there is expectation there. I mean, Widnes' expectation is we won the World Championship in 1989. But there's still that expectation that we're one of the big teams. So last season, we had a dreadful start. We got beat by Swinton in the 1895 Cup. We got knocked out of that. Then we got knocked out of the Challenge Cup by Batley. And it's like, what's this season going to be?
I think we had you on this show at the start of last season, and Widnes had barely picked up a point. They had a dreadful start to the season.
And then the fans were like on the backs of the coaches and the whole club. The club wasn't a club; it was just a team. But then what happened after that? Alan Coleman is a real fans coach.
Yeah,
he's from the amateur game. He coached Swinton. Got them in a good place. I mean, I was listening to him on a podcast in the summer, and he says, wherever I've been, whether it's been, I think it was at Lee East as a coach, wherever I've been, I've left the club in a better position than what it was. And that's what he's brought into Widnes. We now know this is our level. And Alan Coleman says, what I want to do for Widnes, if we're not going to be the top team in the division, we're going to be the top of the part-time clubs. And we sort of managed that last year. But again, what he did, I mean, last year, what he instilled in Widnes was we went for the whole 80 minutes. Even with 10 minutes to go, no one left the ground, even if we were getting beat by 12 points, because you knew there was something still in us, and we got some wins right at the death. And that's all we want as Widnes fans. We just want our team to just keep going at it and just never giving up, and that's what we had last year. Right,
pick out 3 players then, the ones to watch for Widnes this year.
Right, similar to Will Jubb at Featherstone, you got Matty Foz at 9. Well, he's number 4. He was 9 last year, he's 14 this year. There's him and there's Jordan Johnston. Cracking, really good quality 9s. Matty Fozzard's going to have to do a bit more because Jordan Johnston's out for quite a long time now with a back injury. But Matty Fozzard, he's just one of those. He can just jump out of dummy half, and he did it the weekend against North Wales. He got us out the shit. He was lightning. I'm a really big fan of him. Martin Riley is like a brand new player for us. He was injured for the vast majority. He came and he played, I think, the last 2 games of the season last year. So for us, it's a brand new player, and he's just massive. And he's one of those players that everyone in the Championship, all the fans in the Championship want. They want a player that's like a bit of a dog, just willing to do the hard work, bash players off, old style prop, and he's going to do some damage this year. You got Tom Gilmore, who's keep getting told he's like one of the best, if not the best, back in the Championship. He's not going to beat defences on his own, but he's got an amazing passing game. He's got, when he's on it with his kicking, he's got a really good short kicking game. So if you can get him working with the other new halfback, Declan Patton, I'm looking for a good season again.
Dec Patton's not a good signing, mate.
I'm hearing that he's off the pitch, maybe not so great.
Dec Patton used to be a great player, and he hasn't looked fit now for years. I hope he does have a good season, but he hasn't looked fit for years.
I'm hearing mixed reviews, but again, going back to the game when Widnes got beat by Swinton last year, he played for Swinton that game. He just battered us with his passing. Him and Tom Gilmore at the moment in the games I've seen, like in the cup game at the weekend and the week before that against Rochdale, they just didn't seem to be gelling at all. But then what we've got Joe Lyons who can come in, and he's a good player. But I think Alan Coleman's going out for Tom Gilmore and Dec Patton being the starting halfback, and I think they'll get there eventually.
Right, I've got to mention one thing about Widnes, right? Because last season they released their kits, right, and they'd thrown them on it was a reflection of how Widnes was at that time last year. They'd thrown the shirts on the floor, and somebody had took a photograph of it, and that was their official press release. This year, you sent me the video when they've released their kits this year, and it was all about the heritage of the club. It went into so much detail. It was a high-end promo. Yeah. It seems like, when you look at things like that, it seems like Widnes is in a different place.
It was just pure embarrassment last year, that kit launch. The kit, actually, itself, it looked really nice. But the way they did it is like, come on, what are we
But
trying to get here?
that was how a lot of that was a reflection of how the club was being run, wasn't it, at the time?
Well, we weren't a club. We were just a team that had a kit, right? Now we've got, I think it's been a kick up the backside, this IMG. We're now operating as a club. We've got a bit more vision.
Yeah.
Alan Coleman, he is, I mean, at the start of every game, what does he do? He comes over to the fans and claps. His appreciation for the fans. At the end of the game, he does the same. He's like one of us. What frightens me, though, is that if we don't have a good start to the season, the fans will just turn against the club.
Right. Widnes, where they're going to finish next year?
Playoffs.
This year.
Playoffs, because, again, we just don't have I don't think we have the strength to break into that top four because we haven't invested as much. However, Alan Coleman is such a good coach that, like last year, we played Wakefield at home. Wakefield didn't batter us. I think it was 6 points in it. We went toe-to-toe with them. And some of these coaches in this division, like Craig Lingard, they know the division inside out. And so they know that you might not have the strongest squad, but you can still go toe-to-toe.
Rightio, last side that we've got to look at then, York Knights, Mike Applegaff's York Knights. I love York. There's so much about this club I love, but how do you think they're going to go this year?
I think, well, so they've lost some players, but they've replaced them with quality. Like I say, they lost Will Jubb, but what have they brought in? They brought Paul McShane, who's maybe at the end of his career. That's the worry for that.
Yeah, he may be at the end of his career. However, I watched him against Hull. Mate, he's still got it. I think it's a great signing for York.
I know quite a bit about him because he played for Widnes in our Super League days. So again, he's one of these players that he might not have the pace to jump out of half-back acting half anymore, but he's still got that good kicking game from 9. He can do something to the defence with that. They've got a really good set of halfbacks. They've got Atta Hingano, who's played a bit at Super League, overseas player.
Yeah.
Then you've got someone called Liam Harris. Now, not a lot of people might know a lot about him, but whenever I've seen him play, he can open up a defence. He can.
He's the hidden one then, the Mark Austin one to watch for York Knights.
I think so. Well, every time he plays against us, I just know he's going to do something. He knows how to keep it. He just directs everyone around the field like a good old-fashioned halfback.
Yeah.
Like Connor Robinson, what we were saying earlier on, but I think he's got a bit more to him. He's got a bit more pace about him.
I mean, York had a good season again last year, didn't they? One of them where they didn't start very well. There was a bit of a change in the back room. The Hendo went upstairs into the boardroom. Mike Applegaff came in, and they just seemed revitalised, but they didn't quite have enough. But it was certainly a fairly solid season for them.
I know that the beginning of the season last year was horrendous for them. I think they developed quite a few injuries, and I remember Whitehaven going to York early in the season and getting battered. Sorry, Whitehaven went to York, battered York.
Yeah.
And so it's like York are probably in the mix for getting relegated this year. Then Hendo went upstairs, and then Applegarth came in, and it's like, yeah, but he's just finished at Wakefield where they didn't really do well. But he instilled a lot of strength, a lot of steel into the side. And then come the end of the season, they were very, very strong.
Yeah, assistant coach Jed Corcoran as well, who I know quite well from his time at Ireland, and he's just direct, mate. I just love his coaching style. He's just loads of banter with the players. They all get under his wing. I think
that's what you got to have in this division, though. It's Super League. There's like Matty Pete, fantastic coach, but he always comes across as like really, really serious. In the Championship, you've got to have a bit of character. Alan Coleman's got character. Craig Lingard's got character. Like say with Jed Corcoran, you got to have the banter with the players because they're not full-time players. They're part-time. They don't want to come into training where everything's like serious. We lost at the weekend. Let's do all this analysis, and it is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to look at these York side and know that I know every player inside out. Far from it. But what I do know about York is that they're pretty competitive year in, year out. Just talking about York, though, like I like what they do just as a club. The stadium's brilliant. It's a small boutique stadium, which is perfect for them. They promote the women's game really well. It seems to have a really good community spirit about it when you go to York.
Yeah, I think it was just after the IMG gradings came out. I think it was someone closely related to Super League said that York are sort of like a blueprint for the future as a club because they've got that stadium. Yeah, it's not a massive stadium, but it's nice, it's tidy, it's modern. Yeah. You go in, you've got the TV screens in the concourse all around you, and it's not just a game for football it's playing. It's all about York Knights. They've got the women's side. it's pretty good.
Not pretty good. They're bloody brilliant, and they invest so much time into it as well.
Yeah. So they've got the whole club. Where is it they're falling down? I don't know about what happened with the IMG, why they're not like even further up. Maybe more to be done on the community spirit, but in terms of their team, I think they'll be really strong this year.
Where do you think they're going to finish then?
In top 4 with the big spenders, with Bradford, with Featherstone, with Oldham. Yeah, that's where I think they'll be.
Yeah, I agree. I think York will definitely be up there, even if just last couple of years or anything to go by.
If they can hit the ground running this year, definitely maybe top 2.
Ooh, top 2. Right, okay. Well, we'll see where they come out. Right, Mark, it's been great spending some time going through the teams. Like I said to people who are watching, we're not experts, but one thing I do know is there's not enough Championship Rugby League promoted on TV, on YouTube, so I thought, why not? We'll get stuck into it. And if it's something that people want to watch, maybe we'll do one once a month or something. Yeah. I don't know.
This competition is amazing. Like I was saying to you off air, the start of the season, York, awful. End of the season, they're in the semi-finals. And right up until the last few weeks of the season, no one knew where people were going to be. Sheffield, they took a plummet, didn't they?
Yeah.
So it really is exciting.
And on that note, I think we'll wrap it up. Yeah, great championship season to come this year. It promises to have lots of turns in the road. It's a bloody difficult one to call. It's not like calling the Super League, is it? No. I mean, we could just rip this up, to be honest with you, because we could be absolutely miles off.
I no doubt people out there are going to tell me to rip it up anyway, and I've just talked load of bull, but anyway.
We'll see you in the comments. Thanks for watching.